Right.
Welcome to the Legal Networking Forum. The Legal Networking Forum brings education, local resources, and connections to the community. We value creating great business relationships and connecting, sharing opportunities. Today, my guests are Keith and Rebecca with TALLsmall Productions. Everyone deserves to make their voice heard. Keith Scott and Rebecca Klein Scott co-founded TALLsmall Productions with the mission of helping people at every career level communicate in a clear, concise, and engaging style that results in action. TALLsmall Productions leads communication workshops for court reporters around the country and in London, and deeply admires everyone's strive and loyalty to protecting the record. They also work with Fortune 500 companies, such as PayPal, school districts, and associations on negotiation, public speaking, body language, leadership, crisis communications, and media training. This husband and wife team launched their company in 2014 and frequently make TV appearances, weighing in on the impact of communication in politics, news, and relationships. And yes, this company is named for their heights. So let's begin. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, Keith is 6'9" and I'm 5'2".
And no, I did not play basketball. Even though most people think that is all I'm worth.
Everyone is turning off this podcast at that moment, because if you meet someone 6'9" and you find out they never held court.
Oh. But Rebecca is good at that putt-putt miniature golf.
Oh. He says that because I tear him up on our home court and I have zero athletic ability. But what I do have.
Say that again.
Zero. I'm not going to say that again. I have no athletic ability, but what I do have is at 5'2", I know where all of Keith's blind spots are on and off the court.
There are a lot of those.
There are many of
them.
them.
You can't say zero athletic. You're a very good skier.
Okay, fair enough. And tell me what else. Maybe that was a reverse begging for compliments manipulation. That's what we do at TALLsmall.
Rebecca is excellent at skiing and belly dancing.
Not in that order.
No.
And the two never happen at the same time.
Right. That would be dangerous.
Oh, this is so funny.
Which one would you like to join me for? Belly dancing or skiing? Because Keith will not accompany me for either one.
Oh no.
No.
Why not?
I'm just against it. Skiing, I'm klutzy. I don't want to break anything. I didn't learn to ski at a young age. I tried it one time with Rebecca, and I literally just fell over and hit a tree. Like, it was lame.
You just reminded me of Goofy. Do you remember that Goofy skit?
Yes.
Old Goofy.
Are you calling me?
Skit?
I remind you of Goofy. Wow.
Yes, the legs going up in the air, the arms going sideways. Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, it's just not my thing, and I just don't want to break something. I just don't want to break something. I'm a little paranoid about that.
It goes along with your prescription in life. Figure out what you're good at and don't do the rest, which is a lot of what we teach at TALLsmall. How's that for a segue?
That's a great segue into communication. I love it. So tell me a little bit about the communication that you go out and share about, teach the world about.
We noticed that a lot of people out there go on and on and on and on and say nothing. And Keith and I are on a double mission to help those over talkers pare it down to make people want to hear what they're saying, and also to help the quieter people learn how to feel more comfortable with their voices.
As we all know, the world would be a much better place with a few less boring people and a few less loudmouths out there that drown out everyone else because they have no self-esteem. We want to help the people that are just sitting back, not saying anything, because typically they have the better ideas.
That's incredible. They say so much and they say nothing at all. That really stood out. There's one of them. I just said, tell me a little bit about those.
Okay.
Those words.
You drew attention to it.
Yep.
A lot of times people, to keep on talking, will fill the dead space with the filler words, the like, and so, and all of these words become exit ramps where people tune each other out or misunderstand.
Or what we call the varsity words. Ooh. If Rebecca and I came to your house for dinner, had a wonderful conversation. Upon leaving, we said, we actually enjoyed ourselves.
Ooh.
Yeah, you would.
Looks could kill right now.
You seem to get that look like
actually,
right? But people do that all the time in meetings. Like, Bob, that actually was a good idea.
Mhm.
Bob, you're normally dumb as rocks. But today you had something worth paying you for.
Ooh, or another one. People will say, Christina, can I be honest with you? I actually like your blazer.
I hear
And
that
you
all
have
the
to
time. Can
ask
I be
to be
honest?
honest.
That's awful too.
Yeah, there's a lot of that out there. And all of these snags cause people to stop listening or create a false perception.
So incredible. So tell me, there it is again. Tell me a little bit about those filler words in a sentence, aside from what we just talked about, that pertains to maybe some of these careers that we were talking about, court reporting, for instance, or something that is in the legal field. And when you hear these filler words, I mean, how do you get them out? How do you train people when you're talking about these to get these words out?
Well, to answer your first question on the filler words, especially in the legal profession, we'll hear a lot of court reporters when they need to interrupt to get someone to restate something. They'll say, I'm so sorry. I need you to please repeat that. I hate to ask you to do it. They're apologizing for doing their job, which is to protect the record.
It's easy to remember the concept if you think of doormat language. What words do you use where another person could wipe their feet on you? So if you're saying, would it be possible, I just kind of need this, like weak language, then people are going to take advantage of you because people that are cruel sniff that out. And we all know there's a lot of cruel people. And so therefore you want to use words that protect you and don't allow any opening to basically come inside and destroy you many times by their words. So you want to make sure you have that full armor on when you're choosing your words.
And we teach court reporters to take themselves out of the equation, because the minute they say I need or I want, it makes it about them. And instead we put the record at the center. The record requires you to repeat your last statement. There's a big difference from, I didn't catch what you said. Could you please say it again? I'm so sorry.
Plus the record's inanimate. I mean, you can't slam the record. The record's not going to shy away. It's an inanimate object. And anytime you put it on that, doesn't matter what the profession is, when you move to the actual item, then people can't find a way to tear someone else down.
That's great. Oh my gosh, is that great? On the side, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you think this is become about. Is it confidence? Is it what we're trained? Is it learned? Why do we automatically go to these words?
Because we're hyper aware of judgment. Once we get past the fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, we go from being free, doing what we want, to wondering how do others view us, and therefore we want to fit in, not stand out, and so therefore judgment plays, and to feel comfortable, we downplay ourselves so that we don't stand out.
You never see little kids when we go into a fourth grade classroom to volunteer. We love it because you never hear them say, I hate to ask this question. Instead, they simply ask it, or they don't apologize for their thoughts. I don't know about you, but I sort of kind of feel this way. But once we get past that fourth grade, we are walking apologies, and it steers people to think very differently of us.
You know, when the philosopher Nietzsche said that humankind is one of the most domesticated animals that exist. And we forget that we're very domesticated compared to other animals in our thought process, and therefore we settle.
I'm just processing all this thinking. It's like
way back to philosophy, but it fits into that. I mean, we want to fit in, we want to be secure, and therefore we have decided as society it's better to tear ourselves down than to speak the truth or to hold our own.
And it's come to a point where I can barely walk down a hallway and pass another woman in particular without her saying, I'm so sorry. What is the apology for? For walking by? We're both sharing the same hallway. But we have used this as such crutch language that it seeps into everything.
I'm thinking of a million different situations right now. Yeah. Myself included, as well as other people, constantly.
And as you were saying, it's work, it's family, it's life, it's interactions at a store, interactions with friends. I mean, there's interactions everywhere. And if we were to eradicate or at least cut down on this language, first of all, how many less doormats would come up with new and creative ideas?
Yes.
The mental stress and strain this puts on people every day of their lives that zaps them of their creativity. I mean, we'd have an explosion of creativity and ideas.
When you think about all the cures out there for diseases or answers to some of our most pressing questions that are not raised because someone has fear and their self-talk is saying to them, what you're about to say is not good enough, don't say it.
So confidence, you gain back your confidence once you begin to learn to drop all that other language.
You reclaim the confidence that you had as a little kid. And a lot of what Keith and I do with our clients is we bring them back to that childlike sense of wonder about the world and curiosity, and get them back thinking about what was it that you loved doing as a kid? What did you play with? What did you imagine? And in taking that journey, they're able to often access that point at which they began to use this language.
So after that point, though, when you take them back, when do you begin cutting out that language? How does that work begin with a person?
The fastest way, well, really the only way, is to hire us. I'm kidding, but the best
But he's
way,
really not kidding.
Yes, no, but with you guys, I do mean with you guys, when
Right.
you're taking them back, where is it at the point do you begin to say, or I don't know how you say it, please explain how you get them to cut that language out.
we play a game. 'Cause all life is a game, right? It's
Yeah.
called the like, and so game. And we have people,
Unlike and so.
yeah. So we have people to that game, and then other words. And so what we do is we have them talk about a topic. Let's say it's refrigerators. Right? And they start talking about refrigerators. And then typically people say something similar to, I enjoy shopping for, and then when you hear that, you have everyone in the room drumming on a table, and they hear that. It's only because we're not allowed to use tasers anymore. People,
Rumor has it in Pennsylvania, we could play this game a lot better. But the key is most people don't even realize they're using these words. Step one is take them back to childhood, get their guards down, get them receptive. Step two is help them hear these words, because the more you hear them, especially in other people, you're going to get annoyed by them and say them even less.
And the key to this is when you listen to them and other people, you want to think, man, I don't want to sound like you. For example, if you were at a restaurant, you see somebody grabbing food with their hands and shove it in their face, you think, I'm glad I don't do that. Or you see someone littering, you think, I'm glad I don't do that. Someone's spitting. So we learn behaviors by watching other people and thinking, I don't want to be like you. And the fastest way is listen to other people that are using these words and think, I don't want to sound like you. Because we all do that. We look at another person and we make certain judgments. Do I want to be like that? Or are there qualities and traits that I don't like? And now I'm going to go home and fix them in myself.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So
And
how
we
long
see
does this
people all the
process-
time.
What'd you say?
I said, we see people like that all the time that we look at and we think, oh, thank God I'm not like that. and you get in someone's car and it's just trash and you think, I want to go home and vacuum.
Which if I want a clean car, all I have to do is plant some trash in other cars. Things happen.
And I'm sure people say that about us. We're walking down the street, people looking at Rebecca and I think, oh God, I'm glad I'm not like that. I'm glad I don't look like you, Dumpy.
Oh.
Or
Make
your
something.
term was what was your
Goofy.
goofy. So I'm gonna remember
Oh,
the
you
goofy.
remember that skit though? That was the perfect skit. Oh, that's so funny. Well, when you're doing these workshops with your clients, what is the process or the timing of the process? How long does it take you with, let's say, one person, as opposed to how long it would take you with a company or a group of people that you're doing a workshop for?
It all depends. When we're working with one person, the results are going to happen much faster because we're fully tuned into that one person, to all of their subtleties. We can help them really figure out what their crutch words are. But in a group, people have the benefit of learning from each other. And it's hard to put a timestamp on either one. The key is to sustaining and maintaining it, which is why we don't hand out binders. with all this information to our classes. And that's why we do the interaction, because how many times do you go to a conference or an event and someone lectures at you?
Many times.
And in that moment, you think, okay, I'm going to go do this. You get home and you forgot everything you learned, and people have to feel it.
Also, it has to be over a period of time.
Mhm.
You know, 6 months typically for a company or individual is really a great time stamp to be able to work on the process and then come back and refit the sales in many ways, because different life experiences, different opportunities. A lot of times, well, unfortunately, people bring people in, they fix something, but then they have to tack somewhere in their business and then they lose the skill. So it really has to be over a period of time. We find that 6 months is a sweet spot when working with individuals or companies.
Especially when it comes to dissecting every area of their communication, their conversations. We look at their emails, we look at their LinkedIn, how they interact with colleagues. And then we have people process that self-talk narrative that they're having. And different people struggle with different ones of those areas, but there has to be alignment across all of those channels for people to be the best version of themselves.
That's so true. How incredible. What are other things that you guys do with your TALLsmall Productions?
Well, give you an example. Yesterday, we worked with an individual
Mhm.
that was having a horrible time with one of their superiors. And we put together a roadmap of how they could engage better with that person. Give me an example. We map out. So let's say you got a boss you're just not getting along with. Well, let's get to know everything about the boss. Where did they grow up? Where did they go to school? What's their neighborhood like? Are they involved in a religious or a civic or a community or volunteer? And put the whole composite of the personality together, and then figure out how do I engage with that person so that person sees me as similar? Because we engage with people that we look at and we think, oh, they're a lot like me, because who do we love? Ourselves the most.
We're all raging narcissists, but
Exactly.
we help them figure out what are those connection points, and they don't have to be deep ones. For example, with the person we were talking to this week, her boss is very into outer appearance and clearly has some insecurities. And we began to play with, well, how can you better relate to her and take where she does have her confidence and then begin to seep into reaching understanding in other areas? The answer is not talking about work. It's connecting at the most basic level first, because once you have that connection, then people are going to be far more accepting of each other.
It's a simple sentence. For example, looking for a great Indian restaurant. You have any suggestions? And then they suggest one. You go there. Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, now you have this fusion because you've both had the same experience.
And Keith and I still laugh about the story. There was a very prominent person in our area, and who knows if she'll listen to this, but I don't care if she is. And she would ghost us. We'd reach out to her by phone, email, LinkedIn, in person. It didn't matter. We were never important enough for her to chat with us. One time we were hosting a panel discussion and we thought, this is it. She's on our panel. We're going to corner her and get a meeting. And she was off. But at that event, as I was taking off my painful high heels and putting them into a bag to put my sneakers on, we looked across the room and she was doing the same. And we had this weird moment of connection where I waved my bag in the air. She waved hers back. She came over and gave us a hug, and we had that conversation that we'd been chasing, all over the shared pain of high heels.
So just that simple connection.
That's it.
And working with people in meetings, we work with a number of companies, helping them diagnose why their meetings never stop, why people are bored to tears, why there's too many meetings, and figure out, okay, why are we having all these meetings? Obviously, we're not getting enough work done, because if you have a lot of meetings, it means not a lot of work gets done. And that's just the reality. So you'd have less meetings the more people working. So how do we cut down and streamline to have meetings that really matter and move something forward? Because most times, most meetings are updates that could be done another way. A meeting is really a discussion of something that can't be done any other way than in person.
It's not an email. And we've sat in on a number of company meetings where what they're sharing with everyone really could be done in an email. And then today we played referee. We were working with 3 business partners. And as part of growing pains that all business partners face, they were having some friction, and they brought us in to mediate. And that's another one of our favorite things to do to help them reclaim that connection that was once the center of the business.
That's incredible.
I'd
So
like to
many
think so.
different skills, so many different things that you can do with just helping people communicate. I mean, I wouldn't have thought mediation or a person or a huge company teaching them to the like and ands. What else are, give me more, tell me what else. Cause I'm like, all these things are coming into my mind. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you guys can help here, 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 here. And I already know you are, but.
Thank you. And Keith can cut hair too. We'll throw in that shape.
cut my own
During
hair.
COVID, when we had to pivot the business and be real about it, during COVID, we had 14 conferences suddenly get canceled. And we thought, how are we going to make a living? And when we began to cut costs, Keith thought,
Cut my
I'm
hair.
going to start cutting my hair.
I've been doing it ever since. And you know, I can't stop with the people. I can't even go out anymore without compliments. So it's almost embarrassing, you know.
You need some confidence training, don't you think?
It's almost embarrassing when I hear it all the
But
time.
to answer your question, because that's probably not the avenue you meant, we're also working with the state agency right now on media training, how to add that polish for more of their sound bites to be used, because a lot of times when people drone on and on and on in a media interview, it's impossible to pull out that sound bite to put on air.
Helping people redevelop their LinkedIn profile, because most LinkedIn profiles are boring and you don't want to read them and they don't have any interest. We tell folks you have to make your LinkedIn profile similar to a dating profile, right? Start with the picture. Let's just be real.
Mhm.
People look at the picture and decide whether they want to read further. And if you got a nasty looking picture, most likely they're not going to keep going.
Or no picture at all. I
That's a
won't
little
even
harsh,
connect
wasn't it?
with somebody who doesn't put a photo out there.
Right. And so we help people reword it so you want to read it, so it builds intrigue, because what people love is intrigue.
A tease.
They love to be teased. Now, people say they don't, but they really do.
Very similar to when
Yeah.
you're picking a Netflix movie
Mhm.
and you're looking at the different descriptions and trailers.
Mhm.
You're not going to grab one that says, you will laugh when you watch this movie. You have to feel it instead.
So that's one. And then some of the other areas, I mean, it's a really diverse section, whether it's LinkedIn, helping people with their emails, helping them with relationships. And one of our other big areas is helping people with their career journey. You know, we're not doing the placement, like finding the companies, but a lot of people, especially when COVID hit, they're like, man, I hate my job. I want to do something fulfilling, but I have no clue what that is. And so we help them figure out, okay, well, what is this that you want to do?
And
why
that's
do
a
you
lot
wanna
of
do it?
fun, because sometimes when we sit down with them, none of us will know what they want next. And in asking questions and questions and questions and pulling things out, suddenly we'll all realize at the same time, oh, this is the direction.
And sometimes it goes in a radically different direction
yeah.
than you think. And that's that's fun, because people, but the thing is, you have to get people back to, and all goes back to their childhood. What would really make you happy? I mean, every job has parts that you don't like, but what overall would make you really happy? Like, even as a kid, if you make mud pies, the worst part's cleaning up, right? So there's always something.
Are you saying that because you did the dishes?
I would never,
My food is a mud pie.
I would never. But the fact is, you have to guide people to their childhood dreams. We all had things that we wanted to do as a kid. And a lot of us deferred them, thinking that's not realistic, or we got to pay the bills, which you do. But there's ways to balance that.
And it never ceases to amaze us how many answers are hidden in there in our own childhoods. We go on all these crazy life searches and we have the answers already.
That's so wonderful. It's got to be so rewarding for you guys.
Not really. Yes, it's very rewarding.
And we teach the art of sarcasm too.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it's-
I know that.
That's not it.
What about you guys being on the news? Why do the media? I know you've been on lots of shows. Tell me.
They'll come to us to add perspective, to figure out what's under the layer of what you're seeing. For example, in a presidential debate, everybody's watching and hearing certain things, but what should we be paying attention to via the body language? Because body language is 70% of communication, and the words matter far less than we give them credit for.
And how to read people. I mean, anything from dating to relationships to working with your boss. How do you read body behavior? How do you read signs in body language? Micro expressions on the face, how people comb or do their hair, what they're what they're wearing, all the things, what they have behind them. All these things build a composite of that individual. It doesn't tell you everything, but a lot of people are just clueless. How many times do people walk past someone and they don't even make a judgment or really pay attention to what the person's doing? There's so many people that are victims of crimes and say, I kind of felt something, I had a hunch, but I didn't act on it. And it's being able to have that hunch and then react to it right
Having
away.
that situational awareness. And that often has the key to answering when people aren't getting along with a boss or something like that. When you begin to really study that boss, how does he or she live their life? What are their likes? What are their dislikes? How do they decorate? Oftentimes the answers to how to better get along with them are right there on the wall, inclusive how they've decorated. For example, we had one guy who was meticulous. We looked at his landscaping. Every bush was cut identical to the other, and there were only a tiny amount of them on this many acres of property. This is a person who doesn't want to have long conversations. He likes things simple, to the point, and predictable. And when our client was talking in circles around him, it made it tough.
It's interesting to think about that. So do you guys actually think about that with every person you come in contact with?
Yes.
Yes, we're studying you right now.
It's like profiling. I'm scared. You guys can see my life behind me.
And
Exactly.
you
And
can
in
see
my face.
Exactly. But it's normal. And as animals, which we are as humans, we've forgotten that early on we had to do that for survival.
Right.
It's a survival tactic that, because we live in a bit safer society than prehistoric in terms of day-to-day living, we kind of give up on that. It's like our canine teeth. We don't use them because we don't typically rip flesh off animals anymore, right? But the fact is, I know it's very graphic, wasn't
I
it?
could really visualize.
But the fact is, we don't use those skills. We forget, but they're important. They're part of what makes us human beings.
Which is why children fascinate us to the degree they do. One year we were interviewing one of the world's most prominent experts on body language. And when we asked him, how do you stay sharp at your game? Guess what he told us?
What?
He studies 2-year-olds.
No.
Because they don't have the words yet. Their body language is everything.
That's really incredible.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, thinking about going back to your childhood and then watching your kids, and those kids are free. They say what they want. They say what they think. And now that I think about it, they often get in trouble, like you said, around 5th, 6th grade, when you're saying, or their parents are saying, you should know better. Don't say that. Keep that to yourself.
And the peer pressure, the group think pressure that you must conform to the group. They start, as they start, when they're younger, they start wearing funky, crazy clothes, mismatched shoes and colors and crazy stuff. And then all of a sudden they're like, I can't wear that anymore. I got to look like the other people. And that's when it all starts.
As parents, or to the parents, what would you suggest?
You have to let the kids experience it for themselves, because if you tell kids, don't do this, think this way, do this, they're going to run the opposite way. Unfortunately, we all have to experience that knowledge of realizing that, hey, we don't need to be like every single other person. But if you tell that to your child, they're going to cling in the opposite direction.
And for adults, what would you say, apart from hiring you, because I do see such value in you guys and what you do? What would you just tell a person that's not considering this type of work? How would you go about saying, hey, you may need this?
Well, here's the thing we would tell adults. Do you want to continue to live this life, and life is fleeting and very short? Or do you want to go back and find that kid inside of you? Do you want to find that freedom that you had? Or are you just going to live this life and just try to get through it to the day you die? To me, that is not something people want to do. And deep down, we all want to rediscover that kid. We all want to have fun and freedom and laughter and excitement. And if you don't find that, then you basically have decided you're going to stay in jail, your own mental jail.
And we'll often remind people they have nothing to lose. Most people, when they come to us, are miserable or unsatisfied or feel like they're at a dead end. And we always say to them, well, what could you possibly lose? If you're not happy now, you could only go better. Things could only climb up.
Yeah. And your sarcasm, that just makes it worthwhile. You guys, I mean, get some laughs out of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Life is really, really funny and absurd in many ways, right? We look at the world, the state we're in, it's very absurd. And so therefore, you can't take it fully seriously. I mean, it's just, if you really think about how we all do things and operate, you have to laugh. And what's funny is laughter is the number one way to tear down walls with people, groups, and individuals to get them to open up. And it's a universal language.
And we've heard a lot of people say to us, well, we don't have time for that. We need to get right down to business at our meeting. And then nothing happens and they're meeting again on the same topic. That laughter is a critical investment, because in doing that and getting people to laugh together and feel connected, it's much harder to treat someone as your adversary when you've laughed with them.
Yeah, it's healing too. There are all kinds of benefits to laughter. So how amazing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys keep up on your education and your training and your continuous learning to know all that you know and to help people in the way that you help people?
I just listened to Rebecca.
Good answer. we treat life as though we're spies. We're constantly watching people.
Mm-hmm.
We read, we listen to podcasts, we do all those other things too, but the best learning comes from sitting back on the sidelines and watching and observing.
And analyzing. And sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but the goal is to have more rights than wrongs, but to analyze behavior and situations. One of our favorites pre-COVID, and we still do it now, is go to a restaurant and watch other couples. That tells you everything.
And then we take it a step further, which you did not share, which is not the nicest thing. As we're watching them, we'll imitate what we think that conversation might be and the tone it might be going down.
Oh,
I rarely do
what an experience. What a learning experience.
Rebecca is a master at coming up with, I don't know how she does it, but she can get the exact personality and tone.
If we're on a long drive in traffic, Keith will point out someone, what are they thinking? What are they saying to themselves? And I have to go into the voice. And
You really are. It's amazing how good. We could take that whole thing on the road itself.
Haircut imitation. But I think a lot of that comes from, as a kid, I was really shy and I loved body language. And I would get up really close, embarrassingly close behind people. I called it shadowing, or my parents did, I don't know which, when I was 3 or 4 years old, and try to move like people and figure out what they were doing and what they were thinking. But I didn't have the societal norms process yet to know that's really might freak people out sometimes.
But
which is how we met. I was shadowing you, right?
Exactly. But keep on reading.
Were you?
No.
But keep on discovering things, and not just read stuff in your field. You know, that's something I think a lot of people, they get into a certain field and they think, I got to read all about this. Read about a lot of things, art and culture and everything, because they all have the interplay with different people. Don't stay stuck in one little, well, I'm a poet, so I only read poetry.
Read about the short people of the world. Too.
Exactly. Read about
the short, the tall people of the world.
Yeah, everybody. And ideas that you disagree with, you know, or you think you disagree with, because you never know when you could change your mind on those things too.
Yeah. Well, in closing, what would you tell a court reporting student or a court reporter? It's so different, I know, but what are the pieces of advice? Try that again. What are the pieces of advice that you would give a court reporter and a court reporting student on communication?
Know that when you are in a room with attorneys, witnesses, a judge possibly, know that because someone has more years of school or different degrees than you do, it doesn't make them any more superior than anybody else. A lot of times the way court reporters talk to everybody else in that room, they put themselves lower than others around them and then wonder why people treat them that way. To know that every single person in that room is a person first.
And that what they're doing in taking that record lasts beyond a lifetime. I mean, it is forever. And it has an impact on future law rulings. It has an impact on outcomes for families, for individuals, for now to eternity. And so it is a highly prestigious opportunity to do a job that is going to, there's not many jobs like that, that is going to last in perpetual time.
And that's the most important job in that room.
How can they connect with you?
They can reach out to us at TALLsmallProductions.org.
Is that www?
This is one thing we disagree on. If Keith wants to annoy me, he will say the www. I can't stand
I know. I love doing
the
that.
W's, especially in writing.
I do it every time.
Yeah, it does look kind of tacky.
Thank you.
That's,
And
that's me.
I love it. Thank you guys so much. Wait, do another joke.
Thank
Do
you.
a tall, small joke, but like tall and small. Something about your heights.
oh, well, here's a good one.
Oh, I know where we're going.
Oh, yeah. For years, Keith would send me articles that people 6 feet high or taller would earn that much more than us shrimps,
Which doesn't really work now in our business.
because we do allegedly share everything. But Keith would always tell me about how tall men earn more. And I finally figured out a way to slam
Men and women.
Men and
It
women.
was just slanted.
It was slanted to men. But I did finally find a way to shut that down. What did I do?
Rebecca would send me articles how tall people die sooner. So,
Which there's truth to that too.
she looks sweet, but but how they don't last as long because tall people have more of an elongated heart and a lot more. You have more blood to pump around. Right?
Are you making
That's why I sit around more often because I don't want to have the length.
But it's all who says what to you, because Keith and I find that really funny. But we'll never forget, we were at a court reporting conference in Pennsylvania once, and this woman came up to us. We were about to go out there and give our talk, and she said, "Do you have a minute?" She came up to me and she said, "Honey, you're going to become a widow much earlier in life than you should, because tall people die sooner." And I thought, that's a big difference coming from a stranger than us bantering back and forth.
Yeah, that is a little different.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
I find it really funny in a lot of ways. Yeah,
I mean, you can laugh about it now, so it's wonderful.
Yes.
I'll take it to the grave. Boom,
Oh
boom.
my God.
1 year.
Thank you guys so much. I love my time with you guys. You guys are therapeutic, healing. Even just our quick conversations that we have are so fun. So if anyone is interested, and there I did it again, literally since I've talked to you guys and got the list of tall, small tips, they are on my mind. I intentionally think about it. Not that I've actually solved the problem, because I think I'm still working on it, but thank you guys so much for your time.